Good morning everyone. My name is Vijay Gupta and you're watching biology classes. So welcome to all of you in this lecture of biology. Student, that as you know that currently I am teaching you the topic pollination. In my last two videos, as I started the topic, first of all I told you about the definition of pollination and then types of pollination. In my next lecture I described about the different methods or different modes of pollination. And in this third lecture of pollination, I will tell you about the air pollination or the anemophily. So let's start the video. Before knowing the definition of air pollination, it's very important to understand what is the pollination. So I'll tell you in my first video. Now I will tell you again. Suppose that this is a flower, and a flower consists of calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, as we know. So gynoecium is the central part most of the time, and it is the female part of the flower, and the uppermost part of gynoecium is known as stigma. So this is the stigma, and these are the stamens or the androecium, which consist of anther. The upper part of a stamen is known as anther, and the anther produce the pollen grains. So the pollen grains are produced inside the anther. When the pollen grains of anther reaches to the stigma of a flower, then this phenomenon is known as pollination. It's a simple definition. When the pollen grains of anther moves from anther to stigma, then this phenomenon is known as pollination. So it was the definition of pollination. Now the pollination takes place with the help of different kinds of method. It may be occurs with the help of air, water, insects. So these are different methods of pollination. In this lecture I will describe about the air pollination or the wind pollination or the anemophily. Anemophily is the scientific term which is especially used for the air pollination. Now what is the air pollination? When the pollen grains are transferred from anther to stigma with the help of air, then this type of pollination is known as air pollination. Means pollination takes place with the help of air. As you can see in this diagram, the pollen grains of one flower transfer to the stigma of another flower with the help of air, and it is example of air pollination in maize plant. So this phenomenon is known as air pollination. Now what about the definition? Anemophily or the air pollination or the wind pollination is a form of pollination. It's a type of pollination. It's a method of pollination whereby pollen is distributed by air. Where pollen grains are distributed with the help of air, this phenomenon is known as air pollination. In simple words, you can say the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma is known as air pollination. So it is the easier definition. Now after the definition, I will tell you about a few characteristics of air pollinated flowers, and it's very important question for your exam. Give any two characteristics of air pollinated flowers, or what is air pollination. Define the characters of anemophilous flowers. So it may be a question of your exam. So what are the characters of air pollinated flowers? What are the special features of air pollinated flowers? Why they are air pollinated? So let's have a look. The first point, flowers are small and inconspicuous. The first point, the flowers are small means what? Flowers are very small. As you can see in this diagram, it is a maize plant, and these are the male flowers which are present at the apex, and these are the female. So the pollen grains produced inside the male flowers. So the male flowers are very small and inconspicuous. Inconspicuous means when anything is not too much visible or showy. You can say it's difficult to see. Then it's not very easy to see the flowers of maize. So the word inconspicuous is used here. So the flowers are very small, inconspicuous, and present in cluster or groups. So these are present in very small groups, as you can see in this diagram. So it was the first point. Now the second one is flowers are usually colorless, nectar less and odorless. Again a very important point. Why flowers have color? The flowers have color, different kinds of color. Suppose that a flower is red colored or purple colored or any bright color like orange, yellow. The color attracts the insect. So those flowers which attract the insects and complete the process of insect pollination have different kinds of colors. But in this case there is no need of color because the pollination takes place with the help of air, so no need to generate the color. So these flowers, the air pollinated flowers, are generally colorless. because there is no need to attract any insect by the color. The next term is nectar less. Now what is the nectar? The sugar solution which is present inside a flower is known as nectar. Insects are attracted towards the flower to get the nectar. So nectar is a special feature of insect pollinated flowers, but here in air pollinated flowers no need to attract the insect, so nectar does not produce inside these air pollinated flowers. Now the third point is odorless. Odorless means no fragrance. Fragrance is essential to attract the insects again, so they are not going to attract the insect, they are not going to complete the process of insect pollination, so there is no need of a good fragrance, so they are odorless. So the second point is the flowers are usually colorless, nectarless and odorless. Now the next point is flowers are developed above the foliage. Now what is the meaning of foliage? Foliage means leaf. A scientific term is used for the leaves is foliage. So as you can see in this diagram, these are the leaf and this is the group of male flowers in inflorescence. So these are the male flowers and the male flowers are developed above the foliage, means these are the leaves and this is the male flower and the male flower develop above the leaves. Why the male flower develop usually above the leaves? Because the pollination takes place with the help of air, and in the apex of the plant air can be easily available for the male flowers and the pollen grains can be carried with the help of air easily in this position. So the flowers are usually present at the apex of the plant, or you can say as the above the foliage, usually in hanging position, and flowers are generally in hanging position so that they can get the air easily. Next point is the anther are exerted and versatile. Now what is the meaning of this? Suppose that this is a flower and the flower consists of anthers. Suppose that anthers are very small and present inside the corolla tube, so the possibility of air is very less because they are inserted, and suppose that they are long and exerted position, then they can get the air easily. So the anther are usually exerted. Exerted means they are outside from the corolla tube, they are large, they are the length of the filament is more than the corolla tube, so they are exerted, so they can get the air easily. So anthers are exerted and versatile. Now what is the meaning of versatile anther? Suppose that it is the stamen, the upper part is anther, the lower part is filament, and the part through which anther and filament connect with each other is known as connecting. So when the anther is loosely attached with the connecting, so this is the filament, this is the anther, these are the anther lobes, and the filament is connected to the anther on a single point or very loosely, so that it can be moved freely on both the directions like this. So this position or this type of anther is known as versatile, and the versatility of this anther helps to receive the air to complete the process of air pollination. So the anthers are exerted, means they are present out of the corolla tube, and versatile means the anther can move freely. Now the next point is pollen grains are small. The pollen grains are very small in size. Why they are very small? Because air will carry these pollen grains, so it must be very small in size. Dry, they are also dry, so that air can carry the pollen grains easily, and lightweighted. Just because of air pollination, they are very lightweighted and produce in large number. And produce in large number because most of the pollen grains destroy, all the pollen grains cannot reach on the stigma of female flower, so they are produced in large number. Numerous pollen grains are destroyed between. Next point is non-essential parts are either absent or reduced. So as you know that the flower consists of different parts like calyx, corolla, thalamus, pedicel, androecium, gynoecium, different kinds of parts are present in the flower. Some may be non-essential for the process of air pollination. So the flowers are, sorry, the non-essential parts are maybe absent or reduced. If they are present, then they are present in a very reduced form. Why? Because there is no need of these parts, so they will only cover the space, so there is no need of these parts, so these parts are maybe absent or in reduced form. So these are the characteristics of air pollinated flowers. Now some examples of air pollinated flowers. It's also a very important question for exam. Give any two examples of anemophilous flowers. So these are the anemophilous or air pollinated flowers. First one is maize, rice, wheat, oat, barley, etc. Now these are the example. Now I will tell you about the air pollination in maize plant. Suppose that this is the maize plant, this one is this one. The plant consists of both sex organ. Male flowers and females are separate and present on a same plant. So the term monoecious is used for this plant. Monoecious means when the plant consists of male and female, both the flowers on a same plant, then this plant is known as monoecious condition. So the maize plant have the monoecious condition. The male flowers are present at the apex of the plant above the foliage, while the female flowers are present near the base, near the basal leaves. So when the pollen grains are produced inside the anther, they comes out, the anther ruptured and the pollen grains comes out, and the air carried these pollen grains to the stigma of different flowers. These are the female flowers, and these thread-like structures are known as style. So the pollen grains from anther to the style or the stigma of different flowers. As you can see, these pollen grains are transferred with the help of air. So in maize, air pollination takes place. Both the plants are similar, of a same species. The pollen grains of this flower moves towards the style of this particular female flower, and while the male flowers or the pollen grains of this flower moves towards the styles of this particular female flower. So thus the process of cross pollination, it is also known as cross pollination. So thus the process of air pollination is completed in maize plant. So it was all about the air pollination or anemophily. In this video, I told you about the definition, about the characters of air pollinated flowers or the anemophilous flowers, and also a special reference of maize plant, air pollination in maize plant. I hope all the things are very clear to you. Still, if you have any question, any query, you may ask in the comment section. I will try my best to reply you. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.